Want to be a topper in MBA entrance exams? Join BYJU'S Exam Prep, CAT and MBA YouTube channel and watch serial 99 percentilers teaching you the tips and tricks.
Hi everyone, very good morning. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. My name is Alpa Sharma and I hope you are doing really good today. So good to see you guys back on this platform, and we have yet another class on the editorial articles, and I have a very interesting piece to read today. Good morning, Prads. Good morning, tension mat lo. Good morning, everyone. So I hope everything's clearly audible and visible. Good morning, Disha. As I had promised to all of you in the last class that I will be bringing an Aeon article today. So here it is. We have an Aeon article today. We're going to be discussing only one article today because Aeon articles are long. I've tried to make them precise. I've tried to make it shorter, crisp, easier to understand. But then the tone today here is a little tricky one. It's tricky along with the summary as well because it's difficult to identify the stance of the author. Because throughout the passage, good morning everyone, good morning Sujit, Tanvi, Maitreyi, good morning everyone. So back to the article that we have, it's difficult to identify the stance of the author. He keeps on changing his stance on and off, and it makes people confused of the fact that what exactly is he trying to put across? What is his argument? And as I had already told you, the argument of the article is the most important. Where will I get Aeon essays to read? Abhishek, I'm typing it in the chat box. Okay? You'll find the link, the URL. That's where you'll find Aeon articles for free. I've sent a message in the chat box. That's on the YouTube chat box. There, this is the website. You'll find all the Aeon articles for free. And I expect you to read at least 2 articles from Aeon every week. Not on the topic that you're comfortable with. Finding articles that you're uncomfortable with. That's what you have to do from Aeon. Okay? Good morning, Sonali. So that's going to be the agenda of the class. Inferences will draw not many difficult vocabulary words, but understanding the argument will be a little tricky one, and that's what we'll be focusing on. So I give you a disclaimer before we continue reading the article. When it is difficult to identify the argument of the author, what do? How do we read an article? In that case, we always try to do mind mapping. What exactly is mind mapping? What did we learn in our previous classes? Okay, tension mat lo. Please, let's study something, okay? Okay, so what is mind mapping? Let's understand this so that you're able to read the entire article seamlessly. Mind mapping is breaking an entire passage into smaller fragments, okay? And smaller fragments are paragraphs. For each paragraph, we'll try to identify what is said in the whole paragraph. What is the argument that the author puts across in the whole paragraph? So if my passage, for example, has 6 paragraphs, I'll have 6 arguments and I'll link them. First paragraph to second paragraph to third paragraph to fourth. And that will give me, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. I'll have pieces. I'll have to put it together to look at the bigger picture, the bigger main idea, the bigger argument put across by the author by focusing on the smaller arguments of each paragraph. That's what mind mapping is. And when you practice mind mapping, retention of the idea in longer passages, in difficult passages becomes very easy for us. And thus, we don't need to refer back to the passage each time to answer questions that are difficult. That's what we're going to be focusing on today. Did you guys understand what is mind mapping? Is there anybody who still has a doubt with mind mapping? Good morning, Diya, Kinjal, Bhuvnesh. Good morning, everyone. Did you understand what's mind mapping, everyone? Can we move ahead with the article? So we're going to be making a jigsaw puzzle, tiny fragments, putting them all together. We get a bigger picture of the main idea. Yes. Okay, so here we go. Let's start. But before we start, A reminder to you, 1st August onwards, our last lap to MHCET starts because MHCET is just around the corner. Every day at 9 p.m. we'll have one session as the last lap to MHCET. We have roughly 20 sessions, PAPAC sessions, many questions to solve. Make sure you don't miss out on this last lap. Make sure you attend all of these classes live. It starts 1st August onwards, every day, 9 p.m. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet so that you don't miss out on these classes. And if you're looking for preparation for CAT 2022, we have a comprehensive program that we have launched where you'll be trained under the guidance of serial 99 100 percentilers, the best of the industry if you can call them. Look no further, enroll yourself right away. The details of the program are given in the description box under my video. Now, I have eliminated the heading of the article and the gist of the article to make life more difficult for you. You know, if life comes easy on a silver platter, what it is, it needs to be full of struggle, right? And that's what we're going to overcome here, making life easier, but not as easy. I've eliminated the heading, eliminated the gist so that you have a tough time reading the article. Let's read the article without the gist, without the title. Here is your first page. Have fun, read the page and send me a done when you're done. Abhishek, I'll help you. Read the page and then I'll tell you. I knew some of you must have read this. This is the latest article that was published by Aeon. But then I had to take it. We haven't taken anything of this sort in quite a while. I'll answer 2 questions before I proceed with the understanding of this page. Life being full of struggles breaks us at times, and that breaking makes you. If you don't break yourself in the preparation, you'll never be able to make yourself in the final examination. If you don't hustle in the preparation, you will never be able to make it to your dream college. It never comes easy. Never. For none of the people, it has come easy. You have to hustle harder than everybody else. You have to work harder than everybody else. You have to get up late, cut down on your sleep, go through the grilling. Only then you come out shining bright. So it might break you, but the result of breaking is going to be that the cutting of the diamond makes it shine brighter. Remember that. Back to the question. I'll address this as well because a lot of people struggle with differentiation between inference, main idea and conclusion. Okay. And that's more of a critical reasoning topic. But then here in this article, these 3 things are going to come handy. So I'll be talking about these 3 also. Take it as a concept session for all of you. So there are 3 topics that we have: inference, conclusion and main idea. When I have paragraph based questions like summary based questions that CAT gives us, the theory becomes a little different. But when I have passages, the theory is different from the penultimate one. Let's understand the difference between all 3 from the perspective of an entire reading comprehension that's given us. Inference is basically reading between the lines. So, for example, if I say India is a democratic country, you can restate the same statement or you can read between the lines saying the fact that India conducts free elections where every vote is given 1 value. That's another meaning of the word democracy. What did I do? I drew an inference from the line that was given to me. So if, for example, I have a line here that says the usual chattering life had been smart enough to seek shelter. What else can this line mean? What else can it mean is your inference. This line can also mean that the birds aren't talking, the animals aren't making their sounds, birds and animals that live in the forest, because this man has been treading through a forest and the sound of the animals and the birds have become quiet. Probably because they have found shelter from the rain and thus they are quiet and you can't hear them. So that is something I inferred through this line. Is that a conclusion of the whole paragraph? Is that the main idea of the whole paragraph? No, it isn't. It is not. So, inference is completely different from a conclusion and a main idea. A conclusion is drawn through the whole paragraph or the whole passage, whatever is given to you. Inference is always through one or two lines, probably from one word as well, like the example of the democracy sentence I had given you. So, inference is reading between the lines. If a line is given, what else could it mean? That's your inference. When the inference questions are given to you in passages, they usually pick up one line or two lines and they ask you what else could they mean. These are inference questions. Conclusion, on the contrary, is final, ultimate thing that you draw out of the whole passage or whole paragraph given to you. It's a combination of every sentence given to you. In reading comprehensions, conclusions can be similar to main idea, because main idea usually is seen in the last paragraph or as a conclusion. So, in a passage, if you have a conclusion, a major conclusion being drawn towards the end in the last paragraph or the first paragraph, that conclusion will be your main idea. You just go and proof check it if it's visible throughout the passage or not. So, in most of the passages, conclusions that are being drawn after the analysis of the whole paragraph are equivalent to the main idea, whereas inference is not. Does it make sense, Abhishek? What is inference and what is conclusion and main idea? Conclusions are drawn from the whole passage and you draw it usually towards the end, but conclusions can come in the first paragraph as well. You make a conclusion and then you go on to describe it. It is 99% of the times not given in middle of the paragraph, either the last paragraph or the first one. If you are asked to draw a conclusion, through a paragraph, it is asking you for a main idea only. Does it make sense, everyone? Okay, so we're going to be practicing conclusion today. We'll see what is the conclusion, because there is a conclusion the author draws. We'll see where it is and we'll see if it is equivalent to the main idea or not. That's what we'll try to figure out in the class today, okay? So, getting back to this page now. This page talks about a major question the author poses. What is the major question the author is trying to analyze through this whole passage? Exactly, Diya. It's hidden. But then so is inference and conclusion. What is the main question the author is trying to analyze and address in the whole page? What is it? I'd like to know your answers here. Main question. Not the last line probably, but something else. What? I'll reiterate. What is the main question the author is trying to analyze in the whole page? No, they are not, Shweta. I'll differentiate between that as well, but first answer my question. What is the one question the author is trying to analyze in the whole page through the two paragraphs? Yes, and research for what, Disha? Because there's a word that's mentioned here, anthropologists. So not all kind of researchers and scientists. We're referring specifically to archaeologists and anthropologists. So the question that you've given me, Disha, is correct. But what are they trying to find? That's my answer. You have my answer. Guys, you'll have to give me a second. Guys, can you give me 1 second, please? 1 second, okay? I'll put myself on mute. So sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Thank you for bearing with me. My daughter is a little unwell today. She's seriously unwell, in fact. I'm so sorry. She has 103 fever and I had to check up on her. Thank you for bearing with me. Let's continue with this. I'm so sorry. This should not be repeated. Okay. Back to the question that I asked you. Why? What is the question the author is trying to answer here? Okay. So, did our ancestors ever belong to the forest? Yes. Yes, Vicky. To trace back human evolution to forest and not everywhere else. Okay. And then we have, thank you everyone. Thank you. Okay. So basically, I think all of you have guessed it right. The author focuses on two types of scientists. We have archaeologists and anthropologists. And the author delves deeper into the forest. And he's trying to identify if life could have started in the forest, if the Homo sapiens or even our ancestors, how we turned from an animal to a human, the entire evolution. So archaeologists and anthropologists, their job is to study evolution. He, through the two paragraphs, is trying to identify the fact that if evolution could be identified through studying forests, were forests were places where humans lived, our ancestors lived, or were they living in arid and dried grasslands like African ones? That's what he's trying to analyze here. And he obviously goes into a Sri Lankan forest where it's very wet and there are insects. I mean, I, being a resident of Bengaluru, can absolutely relate to it. Mosquitoes and leeches and harsh terrain and dark forest and too much water and slippery. Well, humans live there. It doesn't look like that. Why would they live there in a terrain like that where life was almost impossible? But then he believes possibly people live there. That's what he's trying to analyze. Now let's go on and continue with understanding if he agrees to this fact or not. So because our question here is to understand the stance of the author. Okay. So next page. Here it is. Read this and send me a done. Thank you for bearing with me, everyone. Yes, Prats. Okay, done. Now here we go. So of course, we know the question. If human evolution took place in dry, arid grasslands or rainforests. Okay, but the answer, obviously the author says, is controversial. Controversial because the author may think that there could be evidence of evolution in forest, and that's why he's taken a plunge into getting into a wet forest where it's almost monsoon. Okay, so But then others, including Charles Darwin, the father who led to the theory of evolution, and others believed, they were very clear with the idea that the evolution started off with the dry grasslands of Africa maybe, or other dry arid places. But not the grasslands, certainly. The dry grasslands, but not the wetlands for sure. That is one thing he says. And then there's this very important line. He says there are many reasons for Charles Darwin and other scholars to believe the fact that evolution didn't take place in places like Sri Lanka. It took place in the dry, arid grasslands like Savannah. What is one reason that the scholars and researchers like these believed into this fact? What is the reason that the author quotes here? That reason is the gist of all these lines. What is the gist here? What is the reason for believing the fact that evolution took place in dry savannas and not the place that he is visiting? What is that you can infer? Simple answer to it. What is the reason of the belief of Charles Darwin and other scholars that evolution took place in dry savannas? Simple. Fossil discovery. They had proof. They had proof in front of them because they found most of these discoveries in dry grasslands. Exactly. Remarkable findings. They had proof in front of them. So all of this last lines, yes, Bhuvnesh. Yes, Ambri, these are evidence. So it was simple. All of these examples and the theory that's given right here is basically an explanation of the proof of the evidence of the fossils they found in dry grasslands. So they obviously had to think that dry grasslands, it was easier for them to hunt, easier for them to live, and thus evolution took place there. Okay. Can you identify the author's stance now? What does he believe? If evolution took place in the wet grasslands or the dry ones? What is the author's stance? Yes, Abhishek, yes, Kinjal, Prats, all of you are right. Now, what is the author's stance till now? What does he believe? Does he support dry grasslands or the wet ones, rainforests? Which side does he support? Rainforest or dry grasslands? Okay. You say the dry grasslands. Okay. Dry ones. Okay. Keep your opinion here. All right. Let's keep your opinion pending here. I'll not answer that. Let's read the next page. You'll find more evidence to support the author's argument here. Third page. Read this and send me a done. Disha, I buy your point. Okay, Dia, I just read it. Okay, now that you've done reading this, now you know he actually supports the wet lands, right? Not the dry ones, the rainforests. He supports that. But till the last page, I'll go with Disha's answer. He didn't take any stand at all. He's merely stating facts till the last page, analyzing, but not giving his own stance. Now he gives his own stand where possibility of life and evolution were found in the rainforests, the tropical areas. We have equal evidence in the wet ones too. Yes, Prads. So, till the last page, no stance. Now we have a clear stance. What did I teach you? When you have a contradiction, we need to be very careful about the contradiction. This contradiction will make sure you understand the author's stance, because this is what the author's stance is. So he says, everyone believed that these challenging habitats were not necessary because if we can't enter them, probably our ancestors didn't even. But we have evidence now in these coastal and these wet areas that we might have seen instances of evolution there as well. So this line becomes really, really important. Everyone who hasn't been regular with my classes, make sure if there's a contradiction, but however, yet, although, make sure you focus on that line completely. You will have the author's opinion there. This is what the opinion is. We have evidence of the rainforest and evolution, and it's fine in the rainforest as well. Okay, so hominin, basically, I'll give you a gist about that. Homo sapiens, and before that, so earlier we were monkeys and we used to walk on all four limbs. They started getting up, using two hands for hunting and making tools and feeding themselves and walking on two legs. That transition is called hominin. Okay, so, and if so, does this change how we understand ourselves as a species? Of course. Now the entire question is, if evolution took place in the dry grasslands or the wetlands, and why is this entire study being done? Because when we try to understand our evolution, we're trying to answer our questions about our species. Our answers might change when we go back to the grasslands or when we go back to the wetlands to understand where we came from. If we came from the wetlands, probably our answers to be from being a hominin to Homo sapiens now might change. That's what he's trying to answer here. So he's questioning. Till this time, the tone of the author is analytical. He's analyzing. Ocean, he's asking question. He's analyzing. Absolutely analyzing. But then, why does he give you this stance? To probably give his own opinion of his belief that finding and studying only dry grasslands isn't enough. You need to look for evidence of life in the wetlands as well. That's what he wants to bring your attention to. Okay, let's go to the next page. Here, read this and send me a done. What is Savannah hypothesis in a gist? Answer this. What is Savannah hypothesis? In one line, answer this. I'd like to know that from you. What's that? What's this hypothesis? Open world? Yeah. And this hypothesis, life in Savannah, yes. And this hypothesis, now let me teach you something very interesting here. Savannah hypothesis is dependent on an assumption. What is the assumption of the Savannah hypothesis? Let's understand what assumptions are. Okay. So, Savannah hypothesis is dependent on an assumption. What is the assumption? Okay, Alka, what is the assumption? Okay, Vicky, that's the hypothesis. What's the assumption? Your hypothesis is absolutely correct. Yes, Dia, you're absolutely right with your assumption. Others? What's our assumption here? What is the assumption behind Savannah hypothesis? I'll give you an example. Tell me if my assumption is correct or not. That climate change can make people move from one place to the other. Can this be an assumption? Abhinav, absolutely correct. Amrit, correct. Is my assumption correct that climate change can make people move from one place to the other? Absolutely yes. Now understand what is an assumption. An assumption is basically my favorite thing. Okay, I'll teach you this here. Just a minute. Okay. When I build a house, the first thing I make in the house, a bad diagram of a house, but then this is the best I can draw. The first thing I make in a house is my foundation. After I make the foundation, I start making the house. Once the house and the roof is made, can you see the foundation? You cannot. But the foundation is the bedrock of your argument. Your entire argument stands upon your foundation. If the foundation shakes, your entire house collapses. This foundation, this unstated, hidden foundation is your assumption. If I shake the foundation, my entire house will collapse. This house is my argument or premise, for example. Okay, you see the premise. The entire premise is this hypothesis. But this hypothesis is dependent on an assumption that climate change can make people move from one place to the other. If climate change, understand this everyone very clearly, if climate change doesn't make people move from one place to the other, my entire hypothesis stands incorrect. My entire hypothesis collapses because my entire hypothesis is dependent on the fact that people moved from the wetlands to the grasslands because of the climate change. So climate change will make people move. If it does not make people move, my entire hypothesis collapses. That's what an assumption is. That's how you find an assumption. Did you get this, everyone? Let me check your comments by the time. Yes, you're right, Dia. Absolutely right, Prats. In search for a suitable environment, their movement happened. So another assumption, humans look for suitable environments to live in. If they don't, their movement would not happen. Climate change would not have bothered them. This is another assumption, that people look for suitable environments to live in. Okay? Alright, so I hope it's clear to everyone. I love today's class. There's a lot of teaching to be done today. A simple article actually took a different turn today. I'm glad that's happening. Did you like the session yet? If you haven't done that, please hit the like. I don't have to remind you of the fact. Hit the like. Hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, share it with everyone. Make me popular. Okay, so till this time, this paragraph focuses on what Savannah hypothesis is that makes people move from wetlands to grasslands and why the instance and the evidence of life mostly is found in the savannas and not in the wetlands and the rainforest. Okay, let's move on to the next paragraph. Again, but read this paragraph, send me done when you're done. No, Prats, too much to assume. No, I don't have enough evidence for that till now. Done. Answer the question that I've written. Answer the question that I've written. What is the author's stance? What does he believe in? Where did evolution happen? Grasslands or rainforests? What does he believe in? That's how it gets tricky. What is his stance? In the wetlands? Okay. Others? Where did the evolution happen? Grasslands or wetlands? What is the author's stance? Are you confused? I'll tell you why you're confused. I'll go by Vicky's statement. He's still analyzing. He's still analyzing. Because in the last paragraph here, he gives you evidence of finding excavated skeletons and information in desert. So he's moving away from wetlands. He also says that after but we have these people like Raymond Hart who argue that adaptations to harsh and arid grasslands were central to hominin evolution. So evolution basically revolved around harsh and arid and dry grasslands. So this page focuses on the dry grasslands. Oh, just a minute, guys. Guys, can we I'll need only 5 more minutes. My daughter is seriously unwell. Okay, let's quickly close this article. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'll take your leave and I continue the class next Tuesday. Okay, till this time, let's quickly understand the end of the article. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, just a minute, guys. Just a minute, I'll show you an article. One paragraph here. Just read this paragraph and we'll end the class, okay? So with the first line, we know the author's stance here. We know he's actually trying to support grasslands here. Towards the end, I am so sorry I couldn't show you the whole paragraph, but towards the end, the author draws a major conclusion here that people believe, archaeologists believe, anthropologists believe that dry grasslands were our source of evolution. But that's a misconception because we have so many evidence in the wetlands that lead us to a new discovery as well. So keeping this biased view about dry grasslands that this is where the evolution happened is wrong. We need to search more into the wetlands as well. This is the gist of the article, and this is what the author draws in the end as a conclusion. So the whole article is written in an analytical perspective by drawing a conclusion. Now, is my conclusion my main idea? Yes, it is. So we need to relate them carefully. Okay, so that's the gist of the article. I'm so sorry I couldn't continue with the article today. I hope she gets better by the next class. I hope you understand that. Please like the video, comment under the video, share the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. And please follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram and download our app on Google Play. Thank you so much everyone. Have a very good day. Stay safe. Keep healthy. Work hard everyone. God bless you.